What is going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day, or morning, or afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Investing Bros. I am T. Shroom. Going to be taking you through the news and much, much more. Before we get too much further into the show, I've got to wish everybody a happy 15 years ago, Satoshi Nakamoto published the Bitcoin white paper. So happy White Paper Day. Very, very exciting. If you've never read it, you should absolutely go read it. Gonna be maybe taking a look at it myself today, brushing up on the old white paper there from Satoshi. Well, that's always exciting to kind of see, a big milestone crossed. We're about 15 years into Bitcoin. That's right. And, we are well into the phase of if you can't beat them, join them, as the TradFi and regulatory world goes ahead and leaps to joining exactly what they could be replaced by here in the future. So that's exciting to see. Take a look here at the Bitcoin charts just real briefly, because I did notice something that maybe you've noticed as well. This golden cross, that was very, very exciting yesterday. I wouldn't say that it's played out maybe as a lot of people thought it would. You haven't seen a giant move to the upside by any means, just continuation of the crab market and kind of the flag that's been forming there. Now, what I will say is if you look at the cross that happened back here in February 2023, you can see that when we had that golden cross back there, there was a delay in the movement upward. It did signal kind of a reversal of this bear market into a bull market, which is what we're in now. Not officially quite yet, but the beginnings of a bull market. But if you take a look here, you can see that what actually happened is that Bitcoin came back down and tested the red line. So we've got a little bit of a ways to go here, and there's a possibility that Bitcoin could actually come back down and test this red line before it moves higher. But of course, this was a different phenomenon. This was a reversal of a major market movement to the downside, a multi-month market movement to the downside. So it easily could be different this time. We will see. But that's going to be my very brief analysis here from the charts. Let's go ahead and get into some news here. The U.S. Treasury to borrow $776 billion in the final 3 months of 2023. Now, you might be saying, whoa, that's a lot of money. It's actually half. A little bit of money here for the government. In a Monday announcement, the U.S. Treasury Department said it will be looking to borrow $776 billion in the final 3 months of the year. The announcement comes 10 days after the government said the fiscal 2023 budget deficit would be $1.7 trillion. So they're actually coming in lower. And the reason given for this, officials attribute the lower borrowing needs to higher receipts. They were offset by greater expenses. The department said it expects to maintain $750 billion cash balance for this current quarter and Q2 into 24. So, somewhat good news for the U.S., I suppose. Some may interpret that as good. I'm not really sure that I am, but there you go. There you go. That's the news coming from Washington this morning. All right, let's take a look here because there's been a pretty big surge in AI-based crypto tokens see 7-day surge as Bitcoin rally pauses. And as you can see here, we'll take a little look here at AGIX. And as you can see, it's been just ramping up on that on the 1-day chart. It's been ramping up on the upper band of the Bollinger Band there on the daily chart. If we take a look at Bitcoin and throw the Bollinger Bands on, you can see that indeed Bitcoin has pulled away from that upper band, right? And started to kind of crab sideways and to the right. Hey, at least it's going to the right. Correct. Moving sideways. Also, now I will point out AGIX is now pulling down. FET.ai, though, not, right? So still determined to stick to that upper band of the Bollinger Band. So the AI names doing pretty well here. And the article gets into a little bit of attribution of why that is exactly. But essentially, the AI IO domain is is synonymous with innovation and thinking forward. Technological behemoths like Microsoft, OpenAI, and Google pushing boundaries, right? It's that kind of stuff. There's no big like threshold that's been crossed. No AGI quite yet here, folks. I'm sure you'll know when AGI comes around. We've got some interesting news here for Cardano. This is the crypto dip. They put out their October update here on the 30th. And as you can see, Cardano, well, what does this even do? So this is the top crypto projects by developer activity in October. So this tracks the amount of activity. And I believe Tim may have referenced this in his TA video this morning that came out at 8:30. Definitely go watch that. It's just back on our channel at Investing Bros. Go check that out. Give it a like. Give it a sub. And ultimately here, guys, as you can see, Cardano is well in the lead here. Next up is Polkadot, Hedera. Then you've got Aptos, Chainlink, Cosmos, IOTA, Avalanche, Multiverse X, and Radix, which is actually a surprise to see Multiverse X. I gave up on this project. I was in it for a little while, and it sucked. Gotta say, it was terrible. Their DeFi ecosystem was pretty bad. But if you take a look here at the top, which is kind of more the concern, is get Cardano. And I'm sorry, Multiverse Eagle fans, if you're watching, I don't hate you. Don't hate you. I love you. Thank you so much for watching. But Cardano obviously taking the cake here, which is really, really nice. Gia S telling the truth. She said, go ahead and smash the likes, everyone. So absolutely go ahead and smash those likes. Gary C, I wouldn't lend it to them. Just saying. Awesome. Yes. Oh, okay. Probably talking about the U.S. government. Wouldn't lend them the money. Right. Neither would I. Neither would I. All right. Let's take a look here at the next story. So this is good. Great for Cardano. Really, really got to hand it to him there. Continuing to kind of take the lead there on developer activity in October. Will they do it again in the next month? We'll see. All right. Now our thumbnail is talking about the miners and how they're concerned. This is what this is all about here, guys. Why a Bitcoin ETF is making Bitcoin miners nervous. Let's get into it. The first U.S. spot Bitcoin ETF seemingly in sight. It has seemed like the entire crypto industry is optimistic about how such a product could bolster Bitcoin's legitimacy in the investing world, ignite institutional adoption, and send the price of Bitcoin to the moon. Yes, to the moon. For the most part, that indicates Bitcoin mining firms, companies that run large computer fleets dedicated to securing Bitcoin network and earning newly minted coins. However, a key fact about the current Bitcoin investment landscape may leave investors in mining firms a bit concerned. So they are concerned indeed. But this sentence up here said, for the most part, they are positive on the ETF, right? But here's a spokesperson from CleanSpark said, we are optimistic about the ETFs, and there are indications it will be positive, said Isaac Holyock, the chief communications officer over at CleanSpark. The mining stocks, he noted, tend to inherit Bitcoin's positive momentum during bullish periods. Okay, so where's the concern? Though Bitcoin itself is up over 100% this year, public mining stocks have averaged even stronger returns, alongside other BTC-adjacent firms. Until now, such companies have acted as regulated, more traditional leverage plays on BTC for investors in the absence of an ETF. Okay, before we get to the next part here, let me know in the chat, have you heard folks, maybe in Discords that you're in, maybe in the Investing Bros Discord, have you heard folks talking about in Telegram chats, or, YouTube chats like the one right here? Have you heard people say this? Because I have absolutely heard people say this, that the mining stocks, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and take a look at them really quick. That the mining stocks are essentially a leveraged Bitcoin play. And some people treat it like an ETF. So these are the Bitcoin mining stocks. Right now they're mixed, although the market is not open. So they closed mixed yesterday on Monday. But as you can see here, you got Riot Platforms, CleanSpark, Marathon Digital Holdings, Bitfarm Labs. I think it's just Bitfarm Limited, and then Hut 8. So I actually own 4 out of 5 of these, and I just kind of hold them, right? But you could also throw MicroStrategies in there, and you could also throw BitO in there. There's a lot of futures ETFs, but ultimately here, guys, kind of what we're seeing is that these mining companies have kind of served as like a leveraged play for Bitcoin. Well, they're concerned that may be over. Therein lies the rub. Through Bitcoin ETFs may appear promising. Though Bitcoin ETFs may appear promising, they may also suck capital away from stocks that investors have until now treated as the next best thing from Bitcoin. For their part, CleanSpark remains optimistic, keeping its focus on Bitcoin's price, recent developments, both the false claim of the ETF and the hinting of one with the cusp listing, both spurred an increase in price of Bitcoin, highlighted Clegg. So they're really getting into this here, but they have measured concern, I'd say. So it's not something to be rushing out and selling because of. I'm not going to be selling my miners because of this. In fact, I'm probably going to be DCAing into them pretty soon. But here's and we can actually take a look at the prices of them really quick, or the charts of them rather. But here's the thing. Let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think when these ETFs get released that they're going to sop up all the trading volume, sop up all the investment, right? And that has to come from somewhere, right? There will be new demand generated in the market because, as we've discussed, these ETF sellers, these ETF issuers are going to be turning around to their clients and saying, "Hey, you should buy this," right? They're going to be doing the work. So there is going to be a little bit of new market created, but there's also going to be market share stolen, right, from these miners and basically reinvested into ETFs, spot ETFs for Bitcoin. But what do you think? I want to hear what you think in the chat. Let me know. Do you think that there's going to be anything like this happening, or are the miners providing a unique value proposition to the market that the majority of those, the vast majority, maybe all of those invested, are actually invested for the right reasons, or invested specifically because they're invested in Bitcoin miners? Well, Piper has dropped a breaking news into the chat, so let me go and pull this up here. Army Piper, an excellent friend of the show, he has dropped some breaking news here for me. Let's see. Oh, it's wanting me to pay for a subscription to Forbes. Classic. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you here, Piper, because it is. Maybe you could post a link to a website that's not locked down. I might be able to read it here if I can pause it in time. There we go. All right. A legendary billionaire just flipped on Bitcoin amid $300 billion Ethereum, XRP, and crypto price boom. So let's see what this story is all about. Yeah, I was actually reading about this morning. So legendary billionaire investor Stanley Druckenmiller has admitted he should have bought Bitcoin, calling it a strong brand similar to gold. Yeah, so I read this. Why didn't I bring it to your attention? Because there's not really a smoking gun, right? I mean, he says that he would buy it, but he's not saying he's gonna buy it. I think for Forbes to say that he's flipped on it, maybe he was bearish on it, but to my knowledge, he's always been, somewhat Bitcoin curious, you could say. But yeah, I think it's good to see. It's good to see billionaires getting into Bitcoin. Absolutely, 100%. I like to see them when they said that they've bought, not that they should have bought. Right, that's a little different. They also should have bought Amazon, right, in 2008. There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas. But do they value where the asset is currently at the prices it's being valued at? That's kind of the question, and that's not what I'm seeing from Druckenmiller. Now maybe we get another headline, later in the day saying that he did buy. That would be great. Let's take a look here at the rest of this mining article. Since most of the mining firm's revenue stems from fixed Bitcoin block rewards, a rising Bitcoin price translates to higher USD denominated revenue for the entire industry. Anticipating higher future prices, CleanSpark has been dumping millions of dollars into mining equipment this year to give it the greatest competitive edge. Okay, so that makes sense. That's their business operations. In an October mining industry report shared with Decrypt, JP Morgan equity analyst labeled CleanSpark an overweight stock thanks to having acquired hardware and facilities at deeply discounted prices and running a highly efficient fleet. CleanSpark is up 122% year to date. So I said we're going to look at them on the charts, but what does this mean? So JP Morgan saying overweight, that doesn't mean that the stock is overbought. That means that to the extent that JP Morgan has been investing in it, their allocation is overweight relative to the other miners, I would imagine, or maybe relative to whatever fund, that CleanSpark is held within there over there at JP Morgan. But let's take a look here at the CleanSpark charts and see what we can't pull out. So CleanSpark I believe is the biggest one by market cap. But as you can see here on the daily chart, this is the whole year. It's the whole year daily chart. You can see that it does kind of ebb and flow with the price of Bitcoin. But it has broken through this uptrending line of support that it held through much of the year and through the summer. It's broken through that, did try to come back up, but failed, came back lower, and essentially made a move of around 35% lower. Okay, now it's starting to actually. I want to throw on the MVP oscillator to see how fast I can do this. I want to see if there's some bottoming action going on here for CleanSpark, because that could be insightful, right? That could tell us a little bit about how we might adjust our portfolio. Yeah, so actually not really picking up any bottoming movement right here. We had some bottoming back here from Chart Prime, but let's go in to the 4 hour on the time scale and see what we can't. Yeah, so you are getting some bottoming right where we are now on the 4 hour, and then a little bit back here, which actually did mark the bottom. So I would say, there could be a good argument for the bottom being in for CleanSpark here. But what I'd also say is that's also bullish is that this oscillator is coming back down. So you're kind of getting away from an overbought status, right? Which is what you'd had here on this correction. But take it all with a grain of salt here. Make sure you're doing your own research. I'm literally opening up this chart for the first time in probably about 2 or 3 months to take a look at it. I'm more of a DCA'er when it comes to the miners, just because it's such a solid value proposition. But let's take a look at another one. Marathon Digital looks almost exactly the same. Again, you've got the oscillator coming down from that top line. Let's try Riot one more. I think this is another pretty big one. Ultimately, kind of the same thing, right? Oscillator coming down and, price going ahead and testing higher, putting in a higher high from this high back here in early October, right? But still coming off of some yearly lows, essentially. Right. Cool. So that's going to be kind of some quick TA there on the miners. So let's zoom out and ask the question here. Let's see if anybody has contributed, because I asked you guys, what do you think? Do you think do you think money is going to cycle out of the Bitcoin miners and into these new Bitcoin spot ETFs? Eric Wallen said good buying price here, though. Yes, it absolutely is. So that's one thing to point out, is that the miners are undervalued right now, in my opinion. Right? They're looking pretty good. Gia S says, I was able to open it. Oh, the Forbes link? Yeah. So a lot of these websites, they'll give you like a couple articles per week that you can open and look at. So Eric Wallen said, miners will do fine because they buy and hold Bitcoin, increasingly so. Yeah. They buy and hold Bitcoin? Well, they definitely mine it. I don't know how much buying they do, actually. That's kind of interesting to think about. I don't know how much buying they do. Good buying price here, though. So yeah, so I appreciate you guys contributing here. It is a investment community, so it's good to kind of get you guys' feedback. So I tend to agree. I think that the miners are going to be fine. I think that there will be some money cycling out, rotating out, right? But I think that there has already kind of been an equilibrium between just going ahead and buying spot Bitcoin, buying a company like MicroStrategy's, or to a lesser extent Tesla, but big major trusted companies that have exposure to Bitcoin, and then buying the Bitcoin miners. I think that when you're buying a Bitcoin miner, first of all, it's an ecosystem in and of itself because there's intense competition between the miners, right? But then also, I think that the same money that's chasing MicroStrategies is not necessarily chasing the miners. So I think when these spot ETFs come out, there's going to be chaos, right? There's going to be chaos. There's going to be rotations in and out of MicroStrategies, in and out of the miners, in and out of spot Bitcoin proper, not the ETF, right? And so, but the dust will settle somewhere. And I think that where it's going to settle is that there's not going to be a lot changed. I think that there's going to be a lot of new market made. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of salespeople kind of pounding the pavement for BlackRock, for Invesco, for 21 shares, for all of these new ETF issuers that are going to be pounding the pavement, telling people, hey, you should buy Bitcoin. Hey, you should buy Bitcoin, and do it through our ETF, right? There's going to be a lot of people that say yes and deploy new capital into the Bitcoin world that never have before, thus expanding the overall market cap of Bitcoin. Will that trickle into altcoins? Absolutely it will, especially if Bitcoin performs well for these new clients. They're going to say, how can I get these returns again? Or how can I 10x these returns? Well, every YouTuber has an argument of how you can do that, and they'll explain it to you in just 15 minutes, like we did with Crypto Seth not too long ago. That video did super, super well. I think it's up to 2.5 thousand views now. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in for that and taking a listen. But I think overall here, the miners have every right to be concerned because there is an argument for rotation out of the miners and into the spot ETF. But I'd have to say at the end of the day, I don't think they have anything to worry about in the long term because these miners have a unique value proposition, right? It's a different product altogether than the spot ETFs. And there's going to be new market brought in. That's new money, right? Fresh money into the market. And I think all boats are going to float here as the water rises. All right. Let's see. Daniel Menendez said, money will come back if you see prior cycles, the lag and come back. That's absolutely right. Tesla should just bottom. Should just double bottom. Yeah. It's a come unit knee according to Top G. Not exactly sure what that means. Maybe that's a chart pattern. Eric Wallen said he's buying. So, happy Halloween, guys. Happy Halloween. I don't know exactly how Amanda and I will be celebrating. I don't really have anything planned. It's interesting. I never put two and two together that Halloween was on the same day as Bitcoin White Paper Day. So, which, by the way, if you're just tuning in, it is indeed Bitcoin White Paper Day. So, happy Bitcoin White Paper Day. All right, let's keep going here, guys, because we do have a couple more headlines from the TradFi space. Before we get to those, I think we summarized that mining story pretty well. Let's get into a story that has made me giggle. It has made me laugh. I might have to get Tim's take on it later today. Sam Bankman-Fried defense team makes last ditch bid to get English law detail in jury instructions. So I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what this means, but I know that in Canada, if you live in Quebec, I believe you can appeal to the English common law or you can go through the French law. And again, I'm way out of my league here, but it's kind of crazy because it just depends. So it's like kind of two different judicial systems, but that's in Canada, right? That's in Quebec. I don't even know if the rest of the provinces are allowed to use the French law, right? Again, I may be butchering these terms, but I do know that there are two different legal systems, and you can, as a Quebec citizen, I'm pretty sure you can pursue either one, depending on what would be more favorable for your case, right? And I do believe that the Canadian lawyers and attorneys up there, they do use that system whenever they can. Well, SBF is trying to do the same thing, but these are American courts, so I don't really understand how this could even be possible. But let's take a look here. For misappropriation to have occurred under the government's theory, There must have existed a trust, a fiduciary relationship, or a similar relationship between FTX and its customers. A filing included a proposed jury instruction said. Oh man, so they are really reaching here. Let's see. The proposed jury instruction would tell the 12 individuals, the jury, deciding SBF's fate, that FTX's relationship with its customers was governed by the terms of service, which in turn are governed by English law. An additional set of filings provides example cases from the UK. Okay. So he's trying to, I know that American law is originally set on English law, but I don't know exactly to what extent that is. Again, kind of getting out of my realm of expertise here with getting into this, but it's funny. It's super funny because like it shows that they are losing really badly. They're having to make these mental gymnastics arguments to try to get anywhere. Under English law, the terms of service do not create a trust relationship or similar fiduciary responsibility. So there you go. That's their motivation between FTX and its customer. Nor under English law do any representations made under a customer agreement to the terms of service create a trust relationship or similar fiduciary. Okay, so the mere fact that a person subjectively expected, understood, or believed that a trust, fiduciary relationship, or similar relationship existed does not create such a relationship. Okay. That's interesting. It is legally incorrect to imply to the jury that its focus should be solely on the terms of service rather than the full range of the defendant's misrepresentations and misleading conduct. So I think that's the prosecution's argument for this. I don't know how relevant the English law can be in an American court. Let me see if the chat is tracking this at all. No, doesn't look like it. Yeah, it's kind of crazy here. I'm not sure. I think we're going to move on, but it's a little bit of a head scratcher. Overall, it kind of indicates that SBF is up against the wall and they're having to, again, make some really big leaps to try to mount any kind of defense here. All right, gonna do some TradFi commentary here. So Tesla shares drop another 5% on Panasonic battery warning, down 18% since Q3 earnings report. The Panasonic warning, longtime partner and supplier of the EV maker, had reduced battery cell production in Japan during the period ending September 2023. So that makes sense. That's not good. I guess Panasonic is making enough of the Tesla batteries for that to be a concern. Speaking of technology, Apple announced a new M3 chips and cut the prices of the entry-level MacBook Pro. Now, I just bought a MacBook Pro, and it is still returnable. So I'm going to have to look into this because I might be able to get a newer MacBook for cheaper. I'm not sure. I do like the one I have, though. It seems to be performing quite well. I'm actually exporting a video right now as we speak. 62% of Americans are still living paycheck to paycheck, making it the main financial lifestyle. This report's finding. Not going to dig into that too much, but this has not changed. It's only ticking in a more unhealthy direction as Americans are having to turn to their credit cards, right? Having to pinch pennies, not being able to go out and spend as much. But strangely, this phenomenon doesn't seem to be seeping into the retail sales data, right? All of the new data prints that we've been getting are still showing robust purchasing. And then finally here, beer giant AB InBev beats forecast, but Bud Light boycott continues to hit U.S. revenues. So not a giant surprise there, but hopefully Bud Light will have learned his lesson and other corporations will as well. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We go live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday. So today we're going to be, and we'll tweet about this, but today it's only going to be for paying members. So if you're a paying member, we will still be going live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to have a lot of fun. But it will not be open to just the general public. So good little update for you all there to know. And then Piper starts his show right now. Go check it out. Thank you so much for listening and watching The Investing Bros. I've been T Shroom. Have a great rest of your day.
Trying to make paper, turn that batter to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that batter to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.